Well, good afternoon, New Spirit family. Always great to be here with you, and I'm hoping that you're having a blessed week. I want to read to you a passage out of 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10, where Paul tells the Corinthians, I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree with one another in what you say, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly united in mind and thought. I love this passage because it reminds us that as believers, we should always seek to be in unity. Now, it doesn't mean that we're always going to agree. It doesn't mean that we're always going to have the same viewpoint or the same opinion. In fact, many times we don't. When we come together as a community of believers, it's oftentimes those different vantage points and experiences that we bring to the table that helps the church to grow. So Paul isn't talking about having the same opinion and the same thought. He's talking about being united. It means that when we do disagree, when we don't see something eye to eye, it doesn't give us reason to be divided. In other words, let there be no divisions among you, even and especially when you don't agree. I think that's what he's speaking on here. And I remember years ago when my wife and I used to attend a small church in West Texas, that there were two ladies who became upset with one another. And I remember it was a matter of several weeks when they would attend church. And even though they were there in that same church, they refused to greet one another and speak to one another because of the anger that they had towards one another. And it wasn't until after a few weeks that some of the elders in the church, some of the leaders there, got together and sat them down and began to work with them to help them reconcile. And it's a reminder that what Paul speaks of here is that sometimes we're not going to agree, but that we should not allow that to create divisions within the church or even within our households, within our families. Remember that as believers, we do not have the privilege to hold grudges. We don't have that privilege. And sometimes we can even do that to the people who are closest to us in our lives. We get angry, we hold grudges, and we push that anger into bitterness. And we don't have that right to do so. Even if it takes time, it doesn't mean that we have to immediately forgive and reconcile, but that even if it's going to take you time, if it's going to be a process, be working towards that. Don't allow the anger in your heart to become stagnant. Let me read to you from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26, where Paul says, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. I remember friends of mine telling me about this passage and thinking that what it means is you have until sundown to get it all worked out. And that's not what it means. What it means here is Paul is saying, anger is not a sin in and of itself, particularly, especially if it's justified. Sometimes you're justified to be angry. Maybe your child is disrespectful, or maybe a loved one has done something that you don't feel is correct in the eyes of the Lord. So sometimes anger is justified, but anger can easily turn to bitterness. And what Paul is talking about in Ephesians 4:26 here, he's saying don't go to sleep that night and allow that anger to start becoming a root of bitterness. Because anger can sour really quickly, and then the lack of forgiveness can turn to hatred. He says, be careful for that. Don't let the sun go down on that anger and let that manifest into your heart. Always be working to reconcile. So today, I want to encourage you to remain united by mind and spirit with those that you love, those that God has given to you in your life. And remember those who love you. Be forgiving. Be merciful. Be gracious. Especially to those who are closest to you, because they have to do that to you at times as well. Don't hold grudges. You and I do not have the right to hold grudges. Why? Because Jesus didn't hold a grudge against us. Jesus paid the price for us. Jesus forgave us. He paid that price for us. And because of that, we should now be manifesting that love, that grace, that forgiveness, that mercy, especially to those whom God has given to us as brethren in the name of Christ. I hope that this message is a blessing to you. May you have a great rest of your week. And until next time, my friends, God bless.